Welcome back. My name is Teresa and I'm very much alive. I guess. If you're new here, welcome. I have an awful, garbage, filthy mouth where sometimes, just sometimes, not all the time, but just sometimes, I tend to use the word fuck as a comma. I know it's disgusting and I'm seeking professional help. So if you're not into that or weird stuff in general, this is not the place for you. Feel free to exit out the video here. No harm, no foul. But I'll remember our time fondly. If you want to jump straight to the Pat Mcgrath Divine Rose 2 palette review, I will leave a time code down below. Feel free to jump ahead. The other day I was on LinkedIn and I got a request from someone that I haven't even thought about probably in the last 10 years. Which this is why I love LinkedIn so much. It's like a bizarro high school reunion from every comedy in the 90s, especially if you worked in an office. Now the guy who added me the other day, his name is Stefan. Stefan is an unusual creature. Stefan, which is spelled like S-T-E-V-E-N, is pronounced like S-T-E-F-A-N. I still don't understand. I remember so many people in the office would be like, hey, Steven, and he'd be like,
Stefan.
All right, whatever. Anyway, I used to work with him in my previous job. One of my fondest memories of him is when he had to give presentations at our staff meeting. Stefan loved giving presentations. I have never met someone so jazzed in their life to give presentations. And to be honest, they were borderline amazing. He was the only person I have ever met in my whole career that actually jazzed up presentations to make something really mundane to be somewhat kind of exciting, but not really. It's as good as we're gonna get here. One presentation, he used this laser transition. The laser was very reminiscent to a lightsaber. Every time the slide would transition, he would just mimic lightsaber sounds until the slide was done. Which I have to say, the first time was hilarious, but by the 30-second slide, I was dying on the inside, okay? I love someone who's committed. Anyway, what I loved about his presentations is that he would include pictures of himself at the end of it. And honestly, it was no surprise that he was the true narcissist of our office. He actually had 2 mirrors in his cubicle, and anytime you would ever ask a question, he would answer you, but he would just stare at himself in the mirror. So for example, do you have a copy of the QED reports?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, at the end of his presentations, he would always often include a picture of himself on vacation. And I have to give him credit because no matter what the content of the presentation was, he would always somehow tie it in to him being on vacation. It was a true fucking art, if you ask me. Now, the photos he would use, they were a choice, to say the least. For example, he went to Paris and he included a photo of the back of his head and the Eiffel Tower. So a third of the photo was the back of his head, and then off into the distance was a very crude, out of focus Eiffel Tower, which honestly, was he even in Paris? I couldn't even tell, okay? It just looked a little fucked up. And this is what he did all the time. Every photo he ever had in the presentation or on his desk, or if he wanted to share them through office emails, was always taken like this. Always see a third of the back of his head that was usually in focus, and whatever else was in the frame was often out of focus and looked shitty. And I know you're probably saying, well, maybe he got someone to take that photo. It's whatever, who cares? Friend, I asked him because I found it really weird that, like, I get it, like every once in a while you have a photo, like a weird photo like that, okay, cool. But he had photos of this constantly, everything that he did. He had a photo on his desk from his niece's birthday party, and it was the back of his head. And off into the side, you see, I think what looks like a small girl blowing out some candles on a cake. It's hard to tell. Anyway, I asked him, and while looking into a mirror, he said to me that he likes to take his own photos because he wants the viewer to experience what he's seeing. Even if that means looking at the back of his head. Anyway, I love LinkedIn, and I couldn't wait to add him back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the new Pat Mcgrath palette, the Divine Rose No. 2. And I don't know about you pumpkins, but bitch loves a good sequel. Before I give you my overall thoughts, let me read you about the palette first. Pat McGrath Labs Mothership Viii Artistry Eyeshadow Palette Divine Rose 2 retails for $125. A beguiling bouquet of 10 brilliantly blendable, high-impacted pigments and futuristic finishes. This palette transforms Mothership Viii Divine Rose blushing beauties into couture colors ranging from petal soft pink, peach, rosé, and burgundy to guilty golds, brazen bronze, and astral champagne. Mesmerizing mattes, supernova shimmers, gleaming glitters, and an exquisite triochrome inspired an avant-garde of legendary looks. So for $125, what exactly do you get? I picked up this beauty on the Pat McGrath website, hence why I have this beautiful pink chrome finish. And I got this palette on the day that it launched for 10% off. So automatically, I love the shit out of this fucking palette. I really hope that the brand considers releasing more palettes like this in a similar packaging. While I do love the S&M look of the normal packaging, there's something about this that makes it a little bit more special and a little bit more stand out for me. So I would hope that in the future, this brand would consider switching up the package every now and again. I know for the original Divine Rose, I believe it's more of a matte pink, which I wish I had the packaging for that because that looks stunning as well, but I'm very happy with this chrome packaging. Now, I did a review on the first palette, and if you are interested, I'll link it up in the corner, so definitely feel free to check it out, or at the very least, just watch it for the fucking story. I don't know, I'm not your mother, who cares? With that said, I think I'm gonna break it down shade by shade, because for $125, you should know exactly what you're getting into. But basically, this is what the palette looks like on the inside. It's the multi-chrome right here. If you notice in the mirror, it actually shifts green, which is fucking cool. I love that. So because this is a big ass bitch, and I don't want to break it, on one side I'm going to show you the 3 looks that I created with this palette, and on the other side I'm going to just show you the shade that I'm talking about. The first shade I want to talk about is Skin Show Rose Opal. This shade was my least favorite in the whole palette, especially when I applied it directly to my eye. When sheared out, the swatch had this very, very beautiful pink to violet shift. It's very soft and feminine, very, very beautiful. However, the consistency of the shade is a little bit on the chunkier side. On the lid, again, I really didn't find it to be that amazing. I kind of tried to build up the product to see if I could see the shift, and I didn't see it. I didn't really notice it. It wasn't until I decided to use that shadow as an inner corner highlight or an actual highlighter that I started to notice the real shine of it. And that is when I fell so hard in love with this shade. I think as a highlighter, it's so fucking beautiful. When using the product in this capacity, I definitely feel like an intergalactic slut, and I'm here for it. But on the lid, meh, not so much. So I completely stand behind that shade as a highlighter. It's fucking perfect. The next shadow I want to talk about is called Naked Blush. There are only 2 mattes in the palette, so this is actually the first matte that I'm going to be talking about. And this is perfect. I would say that this matte is very consistent with all the other mattes that I've ever used from this brand. There's minimal kick up, no fallout, has very good longevity, great opacity. I don't really have anything bad to say about this. And honestly, I think for me, one of my favorite things about Pat McGrath formula is that everything blends with ease. Her mattes are fantastic. And so this one is no different. I almost wish I used this shade as a blush. Fuck, that would be so beautiful as a blush. The next shade I want to talk about is called
Eleganza.
This is such a pretty shade. It's a metallic sheen shade that works really, really well with glitter glue. No transferring, no fallout, no mess. It's perfect. And I didn't experience any sort of eye irritation either. I would definitely say that much like the matte shadows, all metallics in this palette are very much on par with other metallics from this brand. The next shade is Bronze Rose 05, which these fucking names, I swear to God. Anyway, I love this shade. This shade is so pretty. It's not your typical copper shade. There's a bit more warmth to it. It has an orange feel. Think of it like a sophisticated metallic pumpkin. Fucking love it. It's so goddamn beautiful. And again, this is another shade that worked very, very well with glitter glue. This shade has a beautiful opacity. It blends in with other shades so well. You are able to build up beautiful gradients. I love the shit out of this shade. The next shade is Gold Lust 001. Again, these fucking names. All right, fine. This shade is very, very similar to the Bronze Rose shade that I was just talking about. They definitely play together very well. The difference with this shade is that it's a very beautiful pop of a metallic yellow gold. I loved using this shade and then the Bronze Rose shade to kind of give the look a little bit more dimension. Fucking perfect. By the way, a helicopter is just like riding around. It's fucking annoying. The next shade I want to talk about is called
Extreme Burgundy.
Extreme Burgundy is the second matte shade in this palette. And again, I had no issues. There's a light amount of kick up, no fallout, and it has a very, very rich opacity. Extreme Burgundy is the darkest shade in this palette. It gives the outer corner and the crease that extra layer of dimension. It's fucking perfect. The next shade I want to talk about is called Divine Dusk. When I first saw this shade in the palette, I almost assumed that it looked too similar to Eleganza. And at first I was like, meh, you know what? Maybe they could have swapped out one of these shades with something else. Much like the Bronze Rose and the Gold Blush shadows, they just work together as a team. It's actually kind of funny that I feel like I need both of them to complete the look. If I'm going to use one, I need the other. And again, this is another shadow that I used glitter glue and I had no issue with. The only difference I would say from this shade to the other shades is that there is a minimal amount of fallout, but it's very, very easy to clean. The next shade is Rose Seduction. In pan, you think that this shade is going to be hella fucking pink. Don't get me wrong, it's very pigmented, but you definitely need to build up this color. What I love about this shadow is actually how it blends out. It blends out to this really, really pretty, like pearlescent fuchsia pink. Almost gives you that someone farted on my pillow look. It's so fucking pretty. This shade paired with the Gold Lush shade, sign me the fuck up. I felt like such a sexy cyborg assassin when using both of those shades together. The next shade is VR Sextraterrestrial, which the next shade is called VR Sextraterrestrial. Let's try that again. VR Sextraterrestrial. Close. Close. Whatever, I'll take it. Basically, it just sounds like a sexy VR trooper and I'm here for it. This is the shade, and honestly, this is the only reason why I picked up this palette is because of this shade. I'm obsessed with multi-chromes because honestly, if you ever want attention, just put a multi-chrome on your lid. People will be stopping you for days asking you what is on your face. And also doesn't require that much time to do. Literally just slap it on your lid and you're good to go. And honestly, I was so intrigued because I have yet to see a mainstream brand bring this witchcraft sorcery to the forefront. This is actually pretty fucking cool because normally multi-chromes is really considered more of an indie thing. Now, some of my favorite multi-chromes are from Clionadh Cosmetics, JD Glow, Notoriously Morbid, as well as MBA Cosmetics. They are all perfection and they have cost me a small fortune because multi-chromes, they ain't cheap, bitch, okay? One multi-chrome I think ranges somewhere between $15 to $16. I'm happy to say that the Pat McGrath formula did not disappoint. In person, the shift picks up so well. And for today's look, I decided to pair it with a green eyeliner to kind of play on the green that's in the shift. On camera, I think it's a little bit more difficult to pick up, but in person, it's fucking fantastic. This shadow has a wonderful opacity. It applied very well on a dry brush. It also worked very well with glitter glue. One thing I will note though is that multi-chromes sometimes I find kind of fade a little bit faster than say like a normal duochrome or a shimmer shadow. I find that if you use a tackier base, the shadow stays on your face a little bit longer than say, you know, just using it with a little bit of setting spray or some water. So it's just something to note. This shadow definitely hit my expectations of it and it's perfect. And I really, really hope that Pat starts releasing more palettes that have this beautiful multi-chrome effect because I think what the world needs now, you know, besides peace, you know, besides peace and equality is multi-chromes. Equality, peace, multi-chromes. That's what we need. The last shade in this palette is
Astral Pink Moon. Ooh.
This is one of my favorite shades in this palette. When I used it on a brush, I felt like it did an okay job dispersing the product. Like it didn't look that bad, it looked fine. It does create a little bit of fallout when using the brush, and unfortunately the fallout is a little bit impossible to clean. It's definitely glitter bukkake, but what makes this product shine is actually when you use your finger. When you use your finger and you lightly tap on the shadow, it gives you the appearance of like twinkle lights. And I find that with every look that I created, other than just using the multi-chrome on its own, because like, I mean, I don't want to take away from this beauty, but when using that sparkle shade on everything else, it gives your eyes that little bit of twinkle that you didn't realize you needed so much. The only downside, besides using a brush, is that throughout the course of the day, it does fall a little bit. But I will note though, while it did go into my eyeballs, it actually wasn't that bad at all. It didn't cause me any sort of eye irritation, unlike the last palette that literally almost took my eyesight away. So that's amazing. Overall, this was a fantastic palette. It has really good longevity, opacity, the ability to blend with ease is fucking amazing. I experienced no eye irritation whatsoever, which again is a fucking first. And the color story is beyond gorgeous. There's nothing that I would change in this palette. And I could actually see myself wanting to use this palette time and time again, which to me is kind of a first to say for Pat McGrath palettes, because while I always appreciate her aesthetic, they're the kind of palettes that I don't really reach for, but this one I will. When it comes to how many looks you can create with this palette, I feel like there's a really good variety here, making it a beautiful standalone palette. It's funny because I'm not really a pinky boy, so usually a color story like this would be lost on me, but there's just something so beautiful about this palette that makes me want to keep using it over and over again. And I really love the fact that not only could I use this as an eyeshadow, but some of the shades I can actually use as a blush or a highlighter. I really feel like I'm getting my money's worth with this palette, especially with the multi-use of it. I definitely feel confident to say that this is worth the hype and then some. So if you are interested in picking this up and you do like this color story, I don't think you'll be disappointed. This is an awesome fucking palette. Unfortunately, I think it's sold out right now. I don't know when it's coming back, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, definitely keep checking the Pat McGrath website or Sephora or wherever the hell you get your Pat McGrath stuff. And yeah, and if this tickles your fancy, I say pick it up. Now I want to hear from you guys. Let me know down below if you were able to pick up this palette, if you didn't, if you don't care, blah, blah, blah. Let me know down below because I love hearing from you pumpkins. And with that said, I want to say thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it as always. Feel free to like, comment, hit that subscribe button, it's free, and hit that bell icon for notification of all my future posts. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Discord, Patreon, which I want to say thank you so much to my lovely darling patrons. I would be nothing without those bubbies. So thank you, I love you all. And if you're curious to know what is currently on my face, everything will be listed in the description box below. And as always, continue to stay safe, keep fighting that good fight. We need some change up in here. We have been long overdue for change. And with that said, I love you all, and I'll see you little pumpkins later. Bye.